Now we'll be looking at one report of World Inequality Report 2022. It is given in The Hindu. This is an important report because here the data you can quote in your social issues topic. Then you can quote the data in your essays, and from the perspective of economy section, and also from sociology perspective. And also you can quote the data in the paper 4 ethics. Right? So this topic is very important. Now, before I start this topic, I would like to show you some pictures. If you see this picture on your screen, you can see that there are two gentle beings, I would say, with a great trunk, great teeth, with big ears, and they are just doing the cheers. 2 glasses of champagne in each hand, and here they are just sitting idle in the pockets of one giant figure. As you can see, the person who's smoking this imported cigar, probably from Cuba, this Cuban cigar or Hawaiian cigar, he has this this printed clothes have written 1% on his jacket. And now you can see that there is a broken ladder that says that, sorry Fox, the social ladder is temporarily out of order. And here we have 99% of the people at the bottom side who are just looking at this gentleman smoking cigars and seeing this 2 figures in his pockets, that how the 1% people are controlling the 99% of the wealth of the world. And when we talk about that 1% is equal to 99%, it is in the entire complexity of infrastructure, collectivity of thoughts, availability of knowledge, availability of brain, who is working for these people, whose people, the 1% of those who are controlling the global wealth. And now you can see that if 1% are taking a control over 99% of the wealth of the people around the world, then what sort of equality are we expecting from this world? On a lighter note, if I say that had Karl Marx was alive today, he would have actually gone mad seeing the entire concept that what is going on in the world. The next picture I have to show you that will explain you most of the thing, almost 90% of the topic, that time for the public sector to tighten its belt. Here you can see that again this gentleman is smoking cigar with a big fat throat and like the neck, and this tie wearing gentleman with a big fat belly is written over as CEO pays, corporate tax loopholes, and that collectively is harnessing or exploiting or clubbing the majority of the money that could have gone into the social sector, to the society as a whole, in the form of social spending. Availability with the exchequer is highly scanty because majority of the monies are going into the corporate tax loopholes we have, due to which these giant corporate world or the companies, they exploit the tax and they escape from them. They escape from paying taxes to the government of India on the pretext, or to any of the world government on the pretext of recovering losses, showing losses, and paying the big salaries to the people in the form of shares and with non-performing assets and whatsoever. And that's how they actually ripen their taxes. And in this manner we have seen that almost 8 to 10 billionaires of the world, their wealth got literally doubled in the time of pandemic. Then I have one question: if the world is suffering, then how come just a few number of people, just 1 to 8 or 8 to 10, they can have that mass of wealth? How is it possible? What is working in a wrong manner? Where the problem lies? Do we have to think back and reform our structures, existing structure, and we have to analyze them, and if that is not working well, and if it is giving them enough of room to escape from the window from paying taxes that could have helped the poor people who are just chipping in between those two fat bellies. And here, see what is written: Medicare. What is written? Libraries, schools, parks, hospitals, roads, amusement parks, the social arenas, the insurance, health policies, the delivery of justice, fine working of police department. The entire setup is just mingling within these space. But these people, they have access to the best of these resources, best of the supplies, best of the possibilities of leisure, luxury and life, and they have the best approaches to the power structure. They remain closer to the power, and however they want, they can play and get the policies tilted towards their favor. So this is the story conducted or the reflected by these two photographs of this number 1%, and that's how the CEO pay versus corporate tax loopholes, and how the masses are just chipping in between, right? So within this context, I just wanted to take this topic, that this global inequality report of 2022 that is released by the World Inequality Lab, right? So this is one of the important point for your prelims examination, that this report is published by the World Inequality Lab, right? This is your PT point. And this report, which is published by the World Inequality Lab, it is a research laboratory focusing on the study of inequality worldwide, not just India, worldwide. And this WIL, that is World Inequality Lab, hosts the World Inequality Database, the most extensive public database on global inequality dynamics, that how the elements of the society and corporate world is changing, and the collective outcome is shaping or showcasing what in reality. It gathers social scientists committed to helping everyone understand the drivers of inequality worldwide through evidence-based research, right? And what is the mission of this WIL is the extension of the World Inequality Database, the publication of working papers, reports, and methodological handbooks for further studies, and the dimension in academic circles and public debates, right? This is the institution who is releasing this report, right? And it aims to promote research on global inequality dynamics, as I said. So it is basically most up-to-date synthesis of international research efforts to track global inequality so far. And talking about the key findings about the inequality given in this report are that distribution of wealth it has talked about. It says that the poorest half of the global population barely owns any wealth in form of assets, and they possess just 2% of the total. How many? 50% of the poor are just possessing 2% of the total wealth, whereas the richest 10% of the global population owns 76% of the wealth. Amazing. Amazing fact. 2% is equal to, 50% of the population is holding just 2% of the wealth, whereas 10% of the rich amassing 75% of the wealth. What a great equation it is, right? Next, what it says that Middle East and North Africa are the most unequal regions in the world. Middle East and North Africa are the most unequal regions in the world, right? And India is also now among the most unequal countries in the world. So this is how do you see this reports? Like, either you say that call them biased, either you call them intransparent, examination of data-based research outcome, or whether you say them that they are working anti-government forms, or they are not liking any policy of India and hence they are challenging the structure and everything is working fine. Then, my dear students, I'm not being politically biased here, because my job is to tell you the neutral facts, neutral truth. You can only analyze yourself that why so many people were on the roads, forced to walk for thousands of kilometers in the hotness of summer in the month of April, May, on the roads of Delhi and NCR towards their hometowns in eastern UP, Bihar, and as far as West Bengal. What made them do that? That is just a real and live example of how inequality is ingrained in society, and within this context of inequality, which is not that easy to understand, the poverty is just a very visible showcase through which we can analyze that how ingrained inequality in Indian society. So this is not a great thing to read about that India is now counted in the group of countries where most unequal countries are lying. So talking about the regions, the Middle East and North Africa are the most unequal regions in the world, right? And talking about the gender inequalities, women's share of total incomes from labor income was about 30% in 1990 and is less than 35% now, right? So there is no increase for the women's share of total income, which was 30% in 1990 and now it is lesser than 35%. So what sort of growth are we seeing from the gender perspective? Like, are we truly talking about the gender equality, gender empowerment, women empowerment in India, or let's say in other parts of the world? It is still remaining a topic of debate and discussion. Inequalities within countries are now greater than those observed between countries, right? At the same time, the gap between the average income of the 10% and the bottom 50% of individual has almost doubled in the pandemics, as I've seen. The wealth of Elon Musk has multiplied 8 to 10 times. I'm talking about times, 8 to 10 times. I don't know how. Now, rich countries, poor governments. This is what we have through this inequality report. Countries have become significantly richer, but their governments have become significantly poor, because the point here, we just want to say that the wealth amassed by the private sector has doubled and in fact tripled, but the taxes share in the kitty of government has been highly vulnerable, highly compromising, and it is not in a good figures, right? So that means the administrative, structural and policy related issues are still there. Impact of COVID crisis on inequality. The COVID pandemic has made many people from the middle income group to the poor section or the below poverty line. Europe, Latin America, South and Southeast Asia recorded the largest drops. Europe, Latin America is the entire South America, and South and Southeast Asia. South Asia, that means where India, Pakistan, Bangladesh are lying, in Southeast Asia, where we have these 10 ASEAN countries. In national income of 2020, between -6% to -7.6%, this pandemic has given us great setback to the incomes of the people. India specific findings, if we talk about, India stands out as a poor and very unequal country. The top 1% of population hold more than 1/5 of the total national income in 2021, and bottom half just 13% it is taken. The economic reforms and liberalization adopted by India have mostly benefited the top 1% of the people, right? This is the outcome of this report. It is not my subjective analysis. Average household wealth, if we talk about, it stands at almost 10 lakh rupees. It has been observed that the deregulation and liberalization policies implemented since the mid-1980s have led to one of the most extreme increases in income and wealth inequality observed in the world. This liberalization, because who has access to technology, who has access to power, who has access to government policy modifications? Rich people. Already rich people, already well-established people, well-off people. Now these people are generating wealth in a quantified manner, in exponential manner, by taking the benefits of these people, of this availability of the resources. And the middle income group, the people who are still working on the hand to mouth scenarios, they are going away far from the power structure, from the power excess, from the availability of resources and utilization of those resources. They are just working for the top classes to earn their livelihoods. Right now, gender inequalities, the female labor income share is equal to 18%, which is significantly lower than the average in Asia. And in Asia, the female income share is 21%, but in India it is below the average, and this value is one of the lowest in the world. 18% is very humble figure they have they have shown, because in many reports and many editorials and many articles, well-established articles in news like BBC, The Hindu, and Indian Express, many times it is just showing nearby 15%. Right? Rise of private wealth, if it is talking about, there has been a rise of private wealth in emerging countries such as China and India. China has had the largest increase in private wealth, and in recent decades, the private wealth increase seen in India over the time is remarkable, up from 290% in 1980 to 560% in 2020. So that means within just 3 to 4 decades, the private wealth has increased 2 times collectively, if we talk about. Right now, what this India Inequality Report 2021 says, that the India Inequality Report 2021, India's unequal healthcare story, it has also released, and that shows that the socio-economic inequalities seen into health sector and disproportionately affect health outcomes of marginalized communities, vulnerable people, due to absence of universal health coverage. And India, in this context, right to health should become a fundamental right, has been a matter of debate, but the government is not ready to listen to it, because government needs a great infrastructure, or at least a bare minimum infrastructure with availability of fundings. But gradually we are including more and more diseases, so that if India is made disease free, then only we can work and think of a universal health coverage process and policies like National Health Scheme of United Kingdom, which is one of the world's finest scheme working in the health sector. Right? Multidimensional poverty index, according to the recently released MPI prepared by Niti Aayog, 1 in every 4 people in India was multidimensionally poor. Multidimensional means that health wise, resource wise, living conditions wise, education wise, and access to resources wise. Right? In those multi dimensions, the poverty is still persistent. So how can you expect that this multi-dimensional poverty, which is existing at individual level, will not be shown as on community level? Because health is a community reflection of the well-being of society. Right? So in this context, if we talk about the inequality has the in-depth ingrained footprints in society in almost entire world, and the problem is that many countries are doing with many big corporates are going away with the taxation imposition by the government, and the corporate tax evasion is basically the fundamental and foremost reason that these people are able to amass this high wealth. Right? So now they play with the personal income tax versus corporate tax. Right? Personal income tax comes in the higher slab, whereas the corporate income tax is coming in the lowest slab. So in this manner, they actually try to hide their incomes. The minimum, taxation around the world is again a problem, because here we have seen that many big MNCs, they are not giving this global minimum tax. It is a suggestion that was actually set by the consortium of 130 countries in July 2021. They said that bare minimum 15% tax must be charged to the big corporates, because on the premises of making losses, making a recovery of losses and assets losses, depreciation and whatsoever, in so many clauses, they actually claim tax rebates from the governments, and so that they actually form a collective lobby and interest groups and pressure groups, and they try to unnecessarily paralyze the government in such a way that government is not able to tax them. Right? In this manner, this global minimum tax or minimum tax is the prime requirement, and in many things, that when the corporate houses are also investing in the agriculture, which is a tax-free entity or business proposal in India, the wealth tax system should be increased so that the minimum tax evasion is possible, and in this manner it has to be carefully utilized and implemented, because we cannot tax the poor farmers and people, right? Here also we can say that the entire paradigm of this report, the objective is not to study this report in a kind of defamation of the country. The objective of studying this report is that where we are working and we are failing, if those loopholes are actually accounted and we make them accountable and we are thinking upon them and we are working to make a great reforms based on the outcomes of the report, and here the government of many countries work together so that the tax havens are generally abolished and closed and cancelled, so that the income amassed in the country must be taxed first. No country should have this no tax policy, because taxes are important form of revenue generation for the country, for the governments in countries like developing countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, many countries in the African Western region, where many countries have this poverty, hunger as the prime factor. People do not have clothes to wear. Why? Because government at structural level is paralyzed, and one government cannot do it, because otherwise the big corporate houses will always try to put a pressure on the government so that they can evade the country, and they would say that they will have their setup in other countries, because government in other countries are ready to help them. So in this manner we have to approach, we have to discuss this issue at global level, at common forum like United Nations, and then only the common policies can be made where the minimum taxation provision is always there in all the countries, and this concept of tax evasions, tax havens should be abolished, because many named and famed personalities are found keeping or parking their funds in the tax havens to evade the taxes from the home governments. So the ultimate outcomes of the reports should be understood in this manner, and you should go through the points whatever given in the document, so that you actually get a comprehensive understanding. But the gist of the article I have tried to I have tried to give you, and I've tried to explain to you about this topic. So that was all about this topic. Thank you so much.